All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Legend of the Galactic Heroes, episode 87. Oh boy. So we are officially out of the third season and on to what I'm guessing is the final one. The Iserlon Republic government has been established with excellent speeches and also cries of Die Kaiser Reinhard.
Yeah. And then also on Fejan, we are getting some unique developments with, hey, Boris Konev. Good to see you again. But the Ville.
Yeah.
The Ville. Why are you here? Wait,
yes.
Is it at Fejan or
no,
is
it's in Heinesen.
Heinesen.
Because Trunit's house, yeah.
Right, Trunit's house. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That will be interesting to get into. But yeah, all things said, it's going pretty well in the galaxy so far.
I think
relatively peaceful.
The peace times in general being something that we get as we're moving towards the end of the series, I feel like it makes more sense because fleet battles in general is not really what this show is about ultimately.
No, right.
It's about these characters finding a way to move society and humanity forward in a way that will bring us out of the cycles of bloodshed and violence.
Exactly.
So,
and hopefully they figure it out.
Hopefully they figure something out. But, y'all, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion.
Okay.
All right. So definitely the new arc season kind of structure established here. We gave ourselves a little bit of reestablishing of the foundation of where the characters are at, what their motivations are at, but then
reminding us of some details.
Yeah, having a little bit of a diving into the larger aspects of that flashback with Mittermeyer being saved, but having it be something that tied directly to Mittermeyer's character, not just who he is as a person, but his character, his substance, what makes him a man, a person. And that's interesting because what that makes me think is that the conflict in the future will be something tied to Mittermeyer's character, his integrity, his loyalty, his desire to, well, as his wife put it, he is the most happiest serving you, Reinhard.
Yeah. Right. It's something where
very choice words there.
Yeah, as this show goes on and we have potential, areas of tension and conflict with like Ruental and Trunit and things like that.
Oberstein.
Oberstein, right? There's all these things where it's like, okay, but when does the conflict end? Where does it end? How does it end?
Yeah.
And the fact that we have all of this focus on Mittermeyer, on the one hand, it makes me nervous because we're showing a bunch of happy times, a bunch of happy moments.
True.
And then it's like, is that set up for when things go the other way? Or maybe it's actually something where it's like, no. Mittermeyer is kind of the one who has this figured out.
And he might be exiting out of the story a little bit to go into the peace times of being a husband, and being a father, maybe even.
Maybe Reinhard, you could learn a thing or two from him.
Right.
Because with the people directly under Reinhard, right?
Yeah.
Like you've got Ruental, got Oberstein, got Mittermeyer, and then kind of Mueller, right?
Well, yeah, but also,
and then
Mariendorf.
Yes. But Mariendorf is a separate thing. She definitely has
to see
stuff
her
figured
under
out.
Reinhardt in a completely different context, wouldn't you?
No, she.
I don't know why, but this is the weirdest thing to have an OP have like almost an Ava style random naked lady just kind of going across. Because I was like, what?
Because when I think of it, sexy stuff aside, when I think of stuff like that, I think of vulnerability. Right.
Oh, okay.
And and especially when it's used in the artistic sense, right? Of being naked before someone, right?
Sure.
And that's something that Reinhardt has not been able to do, right? In the flashback that we got,
since Kierheis.
Not since Kierheis, right? The flashback was kind of him doing that. It was him bearing himself and his ambitions before other people that weren't Kierheis, and they were accepting of it, right? And then as a result of that, all these wonderful things were able to happen, right?
Yeah.
This new empire would not exist if not for the fact that Ruental had been like, you know what? Yeah, I need help, and I'm gonna go ask this not even Lohengrin, the Musil, this Musil guy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. As a result of that, cool. We have what we have now.
Yep.
Reinhardt, maybe going back to that a little bit wouldn't be a bad thing.
Yeah, but maybe he can't. Maybe no one really can. You can't go back in time. Wish we could turn back time.
Right.
To the good old days. That's what everyone wants to have.
Reinhardt is a different person now than he was back then.
And everyone else are different as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
But,
It's different, but yeah.
Right, but it's one of those things of since we're kind of seeing how Reinhardt is since he has kind of turned away from war and conquering and conquest and all that stuff.
He's not in his best place.
Exactly.
Not just saying emotionally or mentally, but literally in his function.
Right, he's not in his prime environment. Yeah.
He has to relearn a lot of these things.
Exactly. But, and the idea that Reinhardt will potentially, hopefully, it seems so far, acknowledge the fact that he actually has a lot to learn. That gives me a lot of hope for him, because then he can start asking questions, and then maybe he can start addressing those sides of himself that he has ignored up till now. Because to be fair, he was able to get a lot done by ignoring those sides of himself, right?
Well, he didn't need to actively ignore them. I think the biggest
I don't think he did either, but
I think the biggest thing is that when you are so dead focused on a specific thing, by extension, you're ignoring a bunch of other things.
Right.
But you're not singling out those things as to be specifically ignored. They're just carte blanche getting ignored with all the other
lower on the priority
things.
list.
Yeah, exactly. So for Reinhardt, bringing in these four all together, including himself, but then also having the desire to communicate the vision of overturning the empire and building it into something better, something new, something that he could then direct towards basically unifying the galaxy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's impressive. What happens when you win? What happens when you get it all?
Right. You don't need to. He didn't need to think about his priorities much, because he had the one thing that was at the top, but that thing isn't there anymore. So all of a sudden,
I've had to stop, and that's what's bothering me.
Yep.
So,
Alexander wept, for there were no more worlds to conquer.
Yeah. Now you're here, and have these little engagements, little moments, little things of interacting here. I loved seeing Reinhardt, the socialcrat, if you will. Like he's really good with people when it comes down to it. Reinhardt knows how to engage in that regard there. So I really liked the way that we had this, kind of exposited over, but interaction with him and the Mittermeyers. And I love how he says the Mittermeyers, and I'm like, oh, this is so sweet. Not so domestic, Admiral, Wolfgang Mittermeyer. And then I keep forgetting that his first name is Wolfgang, because then his wife's like, Wolf. I'm like, oh, that's so cute. Like, that's the sweetest thing, because he's known as the Gale Wolf. Right. But it's like, is that the name she calls him in bed? She's like, oh, my wolf. And I'm like,
Well, and also pets his head, good wolf. Yeah,
good
it's
doggo.
Right. It's just it's perfect. And what you mentioned about the thing of Reinhardt, the socialcrat, right? Because he is good with people. Yes, he is. I'm gonna take a shot across the bow, though. He hasn't been good with people for a while. Because his closest connection was with a dead man. Yep. Right? And this is an example of where he's starting to build those connections with actually living people. Yep. And this is very much a baby step in a way, because this is someone who's been by his side this entire time, right? And he's only now kind of really being like, all right, let's hang out, right? But
and it was more so because she wanted to meet him.
Exactly, right.
So he wasn't even initiating this, really.
Yep. But you can tell that it was something that was good for him, right? Yes, and I think Reinhardt could tell that as well. So that makes me very optimistic for, what we get moving forward in the story. Because there's something, there's an aspect of and we've talked about this in theories and things like that, of what Reinhardt will be like at the end of the series. And since we're in kind of like that final segment of the story, I really do want to see the Reinhardt that finds peace. And I feel like this is that first hint that maybe that could happen. Now, if stuff happens with Ruenthal, then that might throw it out of whack. But
before we get into the plot theories again, I think you said something that's rather interesting. The idea of Reinhardt having these moments where he can see kind of what peace looks like, and those are through the interactions with people. I just realized that from a meta context, you need to have Reinhardt interact with these people before you end the story. So it's not actually just a thing of where Reinhardt needs to have these things in order to attain peace so that he can see what it looks like and then choose something like it for himself, i.e. settling down with someone, i.e. going to see his sister, or, reconciling the fact that Kirhais is dead and he needs to move on.
Yeah.
All these things could be there, but they also serve as a structural little meta thing for the story to have Reinhardt have these interactions because the story is rapidly coming to a close in terms of how much actual time we have left.
And there are a lot of characters to resolve arcs
for. There are
for.
a lot of characters to go through that stuff for. Now, to be fair, for Reinhardt specifically as a person, it's actually a very small list of characters that he directly engages with.
Kind of been part of the problem.
Which is part of the problem. Yeah, exactly. So maybe having one eventually with Julian, maybe having one where we get to see him having a little bit of a, hey, all my admirals, all of you have done so much for me. And, now we're in a time of peace. So while I need you to be ready in case things get a little bit crazy or what have you, I task you with going finding, a new place in society or something like that.
You know what I really want to see?
Bittenfeld the farmer.
Well,
the cow farmer.
Okay. Hell yes.
Go, you big ugly beast. Let's go.
Hell yes. Hell yes.
That was random, but
or like Bittenfeld the bartender, that's like
Bittenfeld the bartender.
No, come on, yeah, on the house, around on the house.
It's so good.
But no, but I want to see Reinhardt and Ruenthal have a conversation, and a true conversation, no threats or conflicts or things like that, because if Reinhardt starts to find peace and Ruenthal he's being set up so far of like what's going to happen with Ruenthal, right? Because there's been this plot thing that's just this tack put in the board.
Yeah, I don't think they have to necessarily come to blows.
No, they don't, right? Yeah. But at the very least, the idea of Ruenthal overthrowing or going against Reinhardt needs to be resolved and addressed. And I think it would be awesome if that happened in a conversation between the two of them.
Right.
Because Ruenthal has also, it said at the end of the episode, he himself didn't really know what he wanted and things like that. Yeah. And we've had situations where he goes from being like, yeah, I'm going to make my move against Reinhardt to, no, how could I?
How could I?
How could I? I followed this man for a reason.
He sees the distance still when he comes up close and he's like, there he is. Then he goes, oh, wait.
Yep. Well said.
Whoa, we're actually still really far apart.
And what I get the feeling is going to happen is that as Reinhardt starts to find peace, Ruenthal will see that as the distance closing.
Right.
And then he'll be like, I need to do my thing. And then I want to have a conversation where they actually talk about it and what does peace mean? And that maybe peace is actually the truly, like,
ultimate goal.
Ultimate prize and everything.
Ruenthal can be saved by, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah. And then it's the thing of even now I'm learning. Right. Even when I thought it was going to be that thing where it's like, yes, now is my time. Mm-hmm. Oh, maybe not. And I would love to see that happen. Ideally, when Reinhardt and Mariendorf are married and like Reinhardt's sister's there and they're hanging out with the Mittermeyers and everything.
And they've got a kid.
And then it's Reinhardt and Ruenthal talking as the sort of, because they're the most similar of that whole group,
True.
And then they just sort of look around and they're like, yeah, this is what it was for.
And in the meantime, before that, we can have the Church of Terra stomped out.
Yeah, exactly. And Trune
can have like a joint alliance where they they use the info that Julian got while going to Terra, and then the people on Heinessen, and then Konev, and then we bring in all these other people, and it's like, let's just triple tap Trunet. Like, can we like call him that as his new nickname? Triple tap Trunet. Like, just triple tap Trunet into the trenches.
Yep.
Tried and true.
And then
tread upon him.
Right. And then maybe Ruenthal, as a result of that, possibly, will realize,
yes, I can do this.
Maybe I could take a stab at being a dad. If that ended up happening, I would.
Okay, do you genuinely think Ruenthal has a better chance of being a dad than Reinhardt does of surviving this show?
Well, okay. I think there's a possibility that the show ends with Reinhardt's death, but it doesn't have to be a violent death. It could be
No.
Like,
no, I'm with you.
And I think
I'm
if
with you.
If we don't count that as being like a Reinhardt death, because it's, he's not being killed, it's just,
I'm not talking about murder necessarily.
Right. Okay.
I'm talking about whether or not Reinhardt survives the show's like duration. Because I think that's 0% chance likely.
I think it's 0%
Because I think we're
chance.
going to have a time skip at some point.
Yes, exactly.
And it's just a question of whether or not Reinhardt died before time skip or after. Like,
Right.
that's it. There's question in my mind.
What I'm hoping for is that this show ends with Reinhardt dying post time skip, and it's him, and it's the death that,
and Julian will be a fully grown man at that point.
Exactly,
and
right,
Be the new.
Yep, exactly.
Eras.
And it because I think this show kind of has to end, not has to, but it's probably going to end with them passing things on to whatever the next generation is. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in some ways, can I show you in the OP something rather interesting?
Oh, go
the
for it.
way that they mirrored Reinhardt
and Julian.
Yeah, is that if you think about what Reinhardt is doing through all this, he's holding on to something,
and his hands are closed,
and his hands are closed,
and to the chest, yeah,
right. But he ends with the galaxy, right? And it's all these people have given him so much, and he treasures it.
Yeah.
But the ultimate thing that he could do then is at the very end, instead of having just Alliance members in this, right? Is that he actually hands over what he has to Julian.
Yeah.
And even if it's indirect, if it's indirect of him just letting it all just sift out of his hand.
Right.
And then it creates the galaxy or what have you. That's something that he could pass on that would be really, really special.
Yep. I want this show to end with basically a happy end. Like a happy ending, like a dinner party or something,
or like a quiet just looking at the sunset,
Sure.
With a few core cast.
Can you imagine how adorable and wholesome it would be to see like Reinhardt going on a hike?
A hike.
Where
he's so young, so he's still physically capable.
He's still physically capable, and sort of rediscovering that side of himself. Of you still do have your whole life ahead of you, kind of a thing.
Oh, he's with his sister,
and he's with his sister, and then it's
and Marion Dorr.
Yep.
Oh, you're killing me, man.
I can't.
I need to talk about this episode, man. You're taking me out. This is killing me. The fact, though, of the storm. Let's talk about the idea of the storm. Yeah. The storm being the chaos that exists in the galaxy and the world and what have you, and they cannot just demand that the storm cease.
Right.
The storm will go on until the storm decides that it's time to be done.
Hope you can find your way to the eye.
Exactly. In the midst of the storm, seek shelter, hold your loved ones tight, and just weather it.
Yep.
Now, Reinhardt has weathered a ton of storms.
Yep.
He has no issues, I would say, being in the storm.
Right.
The question is, when does the storm end? And when the storm ends, Reinhardt, that's when you basically will look around and the sun will come out and you'll go, oh, okay, this is what I have next to me. Did the rain that came in the midst of the chaos provide some kind of great bounty that you can harvest when this is all over?
Right.
If not, if you didn't plant anything, if you just sat there and, raised your fist against the storm and defying it by basically saying, look at how strong I am. Well, what was the point of all of that then?
Sure.
So I'm really excited for this idea of the storm being this type of chaos that is inevitable, that it's not there just because of some greed from someone like Ruenthal, for instance, or the schemes of Trunit. That's just humanity. That's just something that's going to come about because you've placed yourself into a position of power and authority. So what will be the storm that is brought about in I would say a pretty natural way?
Sure.
Because I don't have any like low expectations about the story here. But I'm meaning like, other than the Church of Terra, like what is the thing that feels the most natural for the characters to have to struggle and deal with outside of maybe just the political stuff of the people starting to like Ruenthal a little bit more than
maybe like
I don't know.
It's something where in a way I almost feel like it doesn't matter because in every age, in every place in every age, the deeds of men remain the same, right? Yeah. We are connected to the individual groups and entities and peoples in this time, right? We know their names, we know what they're about and all that
Right.
stuff, and we know who to be worried. Who's going to be a problem,
Sure.
right? But people like that will always crop up.
Yeah.
Right? The Church of Terra, it's a specific organization, but it's not. It's nothing special.
It's nothing special, yeah.
Right?
They're a symptom.
The universe has seen 10,000 churches of Terra,
Yep.
right? It's like the episodes that we get that are the history montages, right?
Right.
That's a perfect example of it, right?
Yep.
So how these people will weather those storms, that's the real question, I feel like. It's the within themselves, will they be able to become that eye within the storm,
for others to seek
yeah.
shelter with them.
Right. Because that's kind of what
interesting
Reinhardt's
perspective.
built here,
Yeah.
But
All right. Well, then maybe we can have a time where Oberstein introduces his dog to Reinhard,
Yes.
and then Reinhard will be like, "Oh, this is like a child to you." And he's like, "What do you mean, like a child? This is my child."
yes, and a best friend.
and best friend. And he's
yeah.
like, "Oh,
Hmm.
And then Reinhard doesn't get married; he just gets a dog.
Reinhard turns to Mariendorf because they're already married by this point. What do you think of a corgi?
A corgi.
Reinhard just.
I'm thinking
Giving
of calling it
scritches to-
dry.
Oh my god!
But y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all
Next time.